Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the PHLY Eagles Podcast. Wulf, Zach Berman here on a Monday afternoon after the Eagles' very first loss of the season and the first loss in their franchise's history to the New York Jets. Zach, how are you?
Well, I'm glad to know that the sky is not falling, okay? And I'm grateful for Jose and Claire and Donkey Daddy and whoever and whoever else is in the chat and watching this. Santiago Loyola, and all our loyal listeners and viewers and new listeners and viewers. We are going to have a full week of shows.
I'd like to get
here.
you a Donkey Daddy t-shirt, Zach. I think you'd rock that well.
I don't know if I would rock that well, but when I was referencing the sky not falling, for Eagles fans, the sun came up this morning, not from that way because that is north, but the sun did come up this morning, and the Eagles are 5-1, first loss of the season. There's always, as I said before, I'm not reading from a script, but I feel this way. There's always angst in Philadelphia after a loss. Growing up here, I remember what those Monday mornings were like at school after Eagles losses. The Eagles don't lose very often anymore. First loss of the season. But really only the second loss by Jalen Hurts in the past 2 years. But the big question here, the bird's eye view, okay, they use an original expression, is whether these are festering problems that were exposed against the Giants. Against the Jets. Okay.
Same stadium.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or if this was just a bad day for a bad day. And that's kind of what we'll tackle today, and I imagine the next few days as well.
Yeah, I think that's the tenor of the conversation this week is what is correctable, what is just a bad day at the office, and what are things that we need to be worried about in the long run. We will talk a little bit about that as the show goes on. We're going to talk about some of the news that we heard from Nick Sirianni, some of the injury updates, some of the parsing and analyzing of those last few drives for the Eagles offense when everything really went wrong. So, I think we can get into that. Now that the stories of what you do when you first wake up in the morning are lost to the ether, we can rediscover those at another point down the line.
You would not be surprised that I say hello to my wife.
But you would be surprised to know that you sit up in your bed and you just look over and you say hello to my wife. It's just like that.
I say good morning. I'll give her a kiss. And then,
Zach.
And then,
feeling pretty good this morning, aren't we?
And then I will read the headlines.
And then all of a sudden you're even more excited.
I will go to, I actually, the first thing I do is go to allphly.com to read my story and to see if there's any comments. See if there's any comments up there. I will read the Inquirer. I'll read, the Athletic. I'll read NBC Sports Philly.
Did you get the snap counts up first today? Were you the first beat writer?
I don't know because I did sleep until 7 a.m. today.
Wow.
So I put it up at 7, and there might have been someone before then. But yeah, then the third thing I did was put the snap counts up. So anyone who wants the playing time distribution always knows to go to @ZBerm on Twitter or X, however you want to frame it.
Okay. And how was the much anticipated trip to Penn State this weekend?
Oh, it was great. I have a lot to discuss for that. We can get to that at the end of the show.
Okay.
That's what we call a tease in the business. But I want to give a shout out to loyal listener Steve from AccuWeather, which is now my app now whenever I want to know the weather. But let's get to the news first.
All right,
right?
Stone Cold Newsman, especially on the injury front and especially relating to perhaps the most important player on the team, not named Jalen Hurts. What is the news for the Eagles?
Lane Johnson has an ankle injury, which we knew. It's been termed a lateral ankle sprain, according to Ian Rappaport from NFL Network and other reporters as well.
Which is, of course, a little bit different than a vertical ankle sprain.
Yes. Lateral and vertical is different. Think of a vertical passing game and a lateral in football.
Yep. Yes.
Now, I asked Nick Sirianni for Lane Johnson's status, and if Lane Johnson does not play, if it's going to be Jack Driscoll at right tackle, similar to how when Cam Jurgens went down, he immediately said it's Sua Opeta. And he said that there's going to be an announcement coming on Lane Johnson. It's still very early for that. He saw Lane today, so we'll find out what that announcement is.
Do you ever notice how anytime that like anybody from the team publicly talks about Lane Johnson or anytime there's a team-sourced report about Lane Johnson, the tenor of those things are always like, well, nobody in the world is tougher than Lane Johnson. And, well, you know, we know that he's the best right tackle in football. And all of those things are and may be true, but it's like for whatever reason, everybody feels that they have to go above and beyond in any time they're talking about Lane Johnson. Be like, well, we know that he's the best player in football, and that he, would walk on hot coals to play. So whatever he could do, he's going to do.
Well, he's a tough dude.
He is. Well,
and he's a really good,
maybe the toughest person I know.
He's a really good football player. I don't know. Your wife, my wife.
Sure. Toughest man I know.
Yeah, exactly. I think that's an important delineation.
But is that on your radar? Do you notice that?
I do. Yeah, they like to give Lane Johnson his flowers.
Yeah, gas him up. But at every turn, he's got to be gassed up.
But he's someone who probably has not gotten earlier in his career.
True.
And Jason Kelce said this. He didn't get the credit that he properly deserved, and so perhaps
probably so.
Yeah. So perhaps it's stemming from that. But so we'll find out Lane Johnson's status. These ankle injuries typically take some time. He is a tough player. The thing to keep in mind with Lane Johnson, and again, I haven't spoken to him about this for full disclosure, or I haven't spoken to him today, but I've spoken to him about this. The previous ankle injury he had, not to saying this is the same ankle injury, right? But he had an issue with his ankle in the past that he played through. It caused problems. It caused more problems, and it ended up being a fiasco for him. And he would tell you that was like a really tough period for him during the previous ankle injury.
And he has talked about how it led to the situation where he had to leave the team in 2021.
Exactly. Yes. So
this is a different ankle, though.
Yes, and it's not the same injury. But my point is, like, the notion that Lane Johnson would play through anything. Like,
sure.
Let's be mindful that even if you tough through something, it can cause, there could be residual effects to it that could be problematic. So I imagine Lane will take that into consideration.
Yeah, and listen, everybody knows the on-off splits of like the Eagles record when Lane is there and when he's not there, and they are pronounced. And it's not just he missed time when they were a little bit worse and he plays when they're good. Like, there is a real cause and effect there with Lane Johnson, I think. At the same time, you have to keep the big thing in mind. And sure, you want to fight to get the number 1 seed, but the most important thing is that your team is in good shape for the playoffs. And, there's 3 weeks until the bye. Is it worth giving him 3 weeks off? It's going to be up to Lane what he wants to play through, right? But those are the things that they have to decide. And I guess my question to you is, how much, I guess, if let's say that Lane's going to miss 1 week, do you think their decision at what to do at right tackle with him gone is different than it would be if he was going to miss 3 weeks?
Good question, because that brings it to the second part of the report there, where Sirianni said that they have confidence in Jack Driscoll. They've won games with Jack Driscoll before, and he kind of suggested that Jack Driscoll would be the right tackle. I don't.
But it wasn't the same as the.
It wasn't
thing.
the same as
right.
It wasn't. It
wasn't like this guy's our right tackle. He's like we've won games with him before. Yeah. I didn't read it as a full throated confidence.
Okay,
yeah.
So when he was asked about Sua Opeta and Tyler Steen, he made clear, and this was when Cam Jurgens got hurt, he made clear. Well, Tyler Steen's been inactive, and Sua went in, so Sua's our guy, right? And that was different than it was during the summer. Now, you didn't think Jack Driscoll had a particularly good summer. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
And
now sometimes those one-on-ones are difficult. His issue, the reason that he's not a starting player, is that he's not fully strong enough at the point of attack. Like, guys can get into his chest and push him back. You saw that a little bit yesterday. I think part of the other conversation we're going to have about this game in general is that we have to give a little bit of credit to the Jets defense. Like, they did a lot of really good things, and that defensive line, as we talked about all last week, is really good. So it's not as simple as saying Jack Driscoll was killing him, get him out of there. But the Eagles need to be clear-eyed about whether he is the best option or not.
Yes. And so the alternatives for the audience would be Tyler Steen or Fred Johnson. Now, I would guess more Tyler Steen than Fred Johnson. Do you disagree there?
I don't know.
Okay.
I don't think that they would play Tyler Steen at right tackle.
Okay.
Because
he's mostly been left.
He's been right guard and left tackle.
Yep.
Who knows what he's been working on when we're not there? Yep. We never saw Mekhi Garner work at safety over the summer, and all of a sudden he's playing safety yesterday. It's possible. There's the like the craziest galaxy brain idea you could do would be to play Tyler Steen at left tackle and move Jordan Mailata to right tackle,
which they
because he's
did. They'll
played there
accommodate
before.
Dillard. Yeah.
Right. I don't think Steen is at that level, and I don't think it's worth interrupting what Mailata and Dickerson have there. I think Fred Johnson can play right tackle. He has played there in the past. It's certainly a different type of player than Jack Driscoll.
Good quote,
Very good quote. You'll see that later this week on ALLPHLY.
Oh, I love that tease. Can't wait to see that Boa Phi line
interview.
Get excited for that.
Much more powerful, bigger guy, not as agile as Driscoll, and I'm curious to see what they would think there. My guess, just knowing Stoutland, is I think they would
Flex.
just having followed the team for a while, not like he's not coming over for beers,
I don't know. You're an
You're the
offensive
guy
line
who knows them
aficionado.
all.
Yeah, but you're an offensive line aficionado.
Yeah, as a student of watching him, not knowing him, I think that they would give Driscoll a full week of preparation, and maybe against a different front than the Jets. But I don't know. I mean, I talked about this on the postgame show. We saw week 2, Goodrich goes in and is bad enough that he's not even active the next week. So you wonder if they would treat it the same way. I sort of think that Driscoll would get one more crack. What do you think?
I believe it would be Jack Driscoll as well. I do think there's some internal confidence in there. There's demonstrated performance. I mean, let's look. The first start he had was like an emergency start, if you will, against Washington week 1, the 2020 season, when we thought Lane was going to play. Lane didn't play, and Jack Driscoll started at right tackle then. He's built up some equity in that building since then. I've never loved him at right tackle. I've actually thought they could have made him more of a guard than a tackle, but they really seemed to settle him in at right tackle during the summer. He didn't do the tackle guard switching, if you will. So my guess then is because I should add, if we did this show a year ago, well, a year plus 4 months ago, I would have said Jack Driscoll was going to compete with Isaac Seumalo, for the starting guard spot, because I thought that's the way they viewed him. So I do think it will be Driscoll, but I am curious to see how long this absence is going to be and the effect that it has on the entire offense.
What about the rest of the injuries suffered yesterday? Reed Blankenship, chief among them, having missed a game earlier in the season with a rib injury, leaves and does not return with another ribs injury. Also going down were Bradley Roby, Milton Williams went down, came back.
He came back.
Dallas Goedert missed the end of the game, and Eli Ricks went down and did not return with a knee injury.
Yeah, so we'll see on Reed Blankenship. Nick Sirianni said when it rains, it pours there at that position. He indicated that they're hoping Sidney Brown comes back this week. So this has been a recurring thing with Reed Blankenship here. Sirianni said Howie Roseman also continues to kind of look at the roster, so you don't know if there's anything that can be done via free agency or potential even trade. We already know, like we talked about yesterday, Justin Evans is down for at least 3 more games. We saw Milton Williams come back. Jalen Carter and Darius Slay, those injuries, from my understanding, are not long-term injuries. Both of them traveled with the team yesterday. Neither one is on IR or anything like that, so we could see them back this week. Eli Ricks, we'll see. He had that knee injury, saw him in the locker room, was walking around fine. But I think Blankenship's the key one to monitor, and then Bradley Roby too. We don't know what the specifics were of Bradley Roby. Nick Sirianni, for full disclosure, is very coy about injuries. I mean, this isn't much different than like Doug Peterson or Chip Kelly. But we're not living in the Andy Reid era where you know full well what every injury is on Monday each week.
Well, and I got to tell you, just like buzzing through the TV copy that we watched today, Reed Blankenship was all over the place. He is playing at such a high level, and if it's going to be against the Dolphins, like the speed that they have, and it's going to be maybe Sidney Brown returns and can finally play, but if it's him and Terrell Edmonds, I think that's a big concern.
Real quick, what did you think of that Reed Blankenship penalty? I know there was some debate there.
I don't have a strong opinion about it either way.
Yeah, I thought it was the right call.
I thought it was fine.
Yeah.
I don't have a huge opinion. Sorry. Not that I gotta have a take on everything, but I don't.
Yeah,
really.
Way to sell that one, Bo. My goodness.
What do you want me to say? I mean, There's lots of like ticky-tack calls that could go either way. I'm just don't have a strong opinion. I'm sorry to say.
Okay.
What did your son think about it?
I don't know about that one. He was surprised to find out that the Eagles lost this morning when I told him that. He went to bed. They were winning. But
that'll happen.
Yeah. But
early bedtime for the Reed man.
Yeah, between 7 and 8.
Okay.
The game started at 4:25, so probably
over about 7:30, right?
Yeah, I think Emily's no nonsense. I'm not home. Emily sent.
I know Emily's no nonsense.
Yeah. I think Emily wanted her Sunday night, so kids go to sleep and she gets to chill. Right? I didn't get home till 1:15. So
nice night for her.
Actually, I got home specifically 1:21. And
good correction.
Yeah,
that's important for the record.
I know that because the GPS said 1:26 when I got in the car, and
you beat it.
Shaved off 5 minutes. Yep.
Good for you.
Yeah, I felt good.
That classic lead-foot Berman.
No, it wasn't lead foot. It was just driving straight through. There was no traffic at that hour.
Had to be some kind of lead foot. I mean, if you beat the projections,
if you beat the projections, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I know. I've seen you drive.
We once did a pod on the drive from Buffalo. You critiqued me the entire way. Felt insecure about my driving ever since.
I honestly don't remember that. But
you don't remember driving from Buffalo to Rochester? We flew.
I do remember that.
Black from Rochester.
I do remember that.
Yes.
You know what I remember about it? The next morning when we got on our flight. Yeah, you saw some
rapper on the air.
Bismarcky. Second time in covering the Eagles that an early morning flight out the next morning, Bismarcky was in the TSA line with me.
And you didn't even say hello.
No, and he died, and so I never had the chance.
Okay, I'm sorry to hear that.
I mean, he's not a friend. He say I'm just a friend, but I don't. Yeah, I didn't know the man.
People like your hoodie, by the way.
People do like the hoodie. You can get one of these on the PHLY locker, just like you can also get that Bryce Harper new T-shirt, the Attaboy Bryce. Obviously, big game tonight. Now, if you were driving Zach to the game yesterday, you may have had that classic sun in your eyes. Maybe you needed some new shades. So let's talk about our new sponsor, Shady Rays. Gear up for the season ahead with quality shades built to last. Our friends at Shady Rays have you covered with premium polarized shades and quick swap snow goggles that won't break the bank. Shady Rays is an independent sunglasses company that offers an unrivaled product that is just as good as any expensive pair that you will see. Durable frames and world-class optics for all outdoor adventures, and if you're into winter sports, their quick swap snow lenses switch easily from full sun to low light. Don't let changing light conditions slow you down on the slopes when all you need is Shady Rays snow goggles. Shady Rays is also committed to making a difference in communities across the United States through their Impact program, teaming up with nonprofits to help people live healthy, courageous lives through some of their most challenging times. If you don't love your Shady Rays, exchange for a new pair or return them for free within 30 days. There's no risk when you shop. Their team always has your back with personal and fast support. Exclusively for our listeners, here we go. Shady Rays is giving out an amazing deal for the season. Go to shadyrays.com and use code PHLY for 50% off 2 or more pairs of polarized sunglasses. Try for yourself. The shades rated 5 stars by over 250,000 people.
And now let me tell you something. If you're
what up, playa?
If you're going to about 3-4 miles that way.
No, Zach. Every time you keep doing this.
That was a joke.
I don't think that was a joke.
That was a joke.
The look on your face did not tell me that was a joke.
That was a joke. Okay?
I don't know.
If you're going to the ballpark and you're wearing those Shady Rays, you should know things are heating up in the ballpark. Every team is playing to finish the season strong and make it to the playoffs. With DraftKings Sportsbook, you won't miss a moment of the baseball action. New customers can score $200 instantly in bonus bets for betting just $5 on baseball. Plus, all customers can take a crack at a sweet payday with DraftKings same-game parlays. String together multiple bets from a single game for your shot at a major payout. Tonight's game, by the way, is minus 166 for the Phillies. So if you think the Phillies are going to beat South Jersey native, Philly area native, I was going to say Pat Gallen, Zach Gallen, okay?
Member of my fantasy team, highly valued.
Yep. a big night for Zach's, by the way.
You, Zach Gallen.
Who's the Phillies pitcher?
Zach Galifianakis.
So what are you waiting for? Download the DraftKings Sportsbook app now and use code PHLY. New customers can score $200 instantly in bonus bets for betting just $5 on baseball only on DraftKings Sportsbook with code PHLY. The crown is yours. Gambling problem? Call 1-800-GAMBLER or visit www.1800gambler.net. In New York, call 877-8-HOPE-NY or text HOPE-NY. That's 467-369. In Connecticut, help is available for problem gambling. Call 888-789-7777 or visit ccpg.org. Please play responsibly. On behalf of Boot Hill Casino and Resort in Kansas, licensee partner Golden Nugget, Lake Charles, Louisiana. 21 plus, age varies by jurisdiction, void in Ontario. See dkng.com/baseball for eligibility, terms, and responsible gaming resources. Bonus bets expire 7 days after issuance. Eligibility and deposit restrictions apply.
All right. Zach, we talked to Nick Sirianni. Aside from the injuries, I want to ask you about what he said about specifically the end of the game there, both the interception that Jalen Hurts threw, which we can get to because, boy, was it costly, obviously the biggest play in the game, and also the Eagles' final possession. What did he say about those last two offensive possessions?
Yeah, so there's a few things to unpack there. The interception, he did not think the interception that Jalen Hurts threw on the second to last possession, the game-changing interception. You can read about that on allphly.com. He did not think that pass was, or that play was telegraphed, that the Jets knew what was coming.
This is because he was asked about it because the Jets' safety, Tony Adams, said after the game to, I believe, Josina Anderson that like one of the coaches on the sideline was like, pressure the B gap, fake the pressure, and then drop to the middle, and he's going to throw the ball right to you, as if they knew exactly what was coming.
Yeah, and Nick Sirianni said that that's not a play that they ran like multiple times.
And this is one where like Sirianni was trying to hide his body language, and he was like trying to hide sort of the smirk on it. Like he thought that this was ridiculous, and he was a little. You could sort of tell that he was upset about it. But he played the right notes and said credit to them, a really good play. But he thinks the idea, like he said that they've called this play once or twice in a similar situation, and he thought it was kind of preposterous that they knew exactly what was coming.
Yeah. So that's what he said there. He thought that interception was the only one that was on Jalen. I know we'll probably get to it, but he thought the one where Jack Driscoll let Jermaine Johnson, or I shouldn't say let, where he was beat by Jermaine Johnson, Nick Sirianni took responsibility for that, said that was the design of the play. And then the other one, he didn't specifically say it was on Dallas Goedert, but it was on Dallas Goedert. But he said
I think that's tough. Rewatching that play, that was just an unbelievable play by Jermaine Johnson. Like, it was a perfect play call. They had like three offensive linemen ready to go block for Dallas Goedert, and Jermaine Johnson, who's supposed to be sort of looping around and coming in, just reads it and beats the offensive lineman to the spot and punches the ball out. It's like a freaky, unbelievable play.
Good player.
I wouldn't have put that on Dallas Goedert necessarily. I mean, he's got to hold on to the ball, but.
So that was one there. And then, all right. So then the final drive, then when they went 4 and out there, I also quickly, I do not absolve Jalen on the second interception. I know, I understand him saying that that's the play they call, but I think that's on him a little bit to feel the pressure that's in his face, like on the front side a little bit. Yeah. Anyway, go ahead. The final drive there, he didn't have let's say he did not get much into it. I was curious about the last play. What was your big takeaway from what Nick said overall on those 4 plays?
Yeah, I didn't agree with some of the things he said. He said he was kind of happy that that Jalen Hurts overthrew AJ Brown on the first play because he was just going to get tackled and the clock was going to start running.
They had time.
They had 2 timeouts.
Yeah.
They needed to get a first down. There's a real possibility that A.J. Brown breaks a tackle. We've seen him break many tackles before. If that ball hits him in stride, there's a chance it's a first down. I think he's, just trying to absolve Jalen on that one.
Yeah. I thought the throw to Devontae on third down, Nick said yesterday that was the one that they had the best chance on. Devontae, should Devontae have sat on it there?
I don't know. It's hard to tell.
Yeah.
It didn't seem like Jalen was expecting him to sit.
No.
I think he probably did what he was supposed to do.
But that obviously was not a big gain there. The fourth down play, I don't know why they went for broke. I mean, maybe Jalen threw it a touch too late and Devontae had a step on him there. But come on, you don't need, what you need there is a first down. And you don't need to get all the way down there. It kind of reminds me of the play 2 years ago, was it? When Jalen Reagor dropped it. Do you remember that? Jalen Hurts threw deep. Jalen Reagor dropped it. Yeah. Late in the game.
Hit him in the hands.
Yeah. But you don't need all those. You don't need all those yards in that situation.
Yeah. I agree with that. I think it's probably because he didn't have a better option there. But, Dallas Goedert's not in the game. Grant Calcaterra's coming across. It looks like he gets open at the very end of the play, but hard to count on that, rely on that. So without having seen the full angle, and it sure would have been nice if they had shown it on the broadcast, it's hard to really parse that one out.
Now, Sirianni defended Brian Johnson, said Brian Johnson did a good job. Sirianni said there were some details that need to work out with...
Sort of tepidly, though.
He said he'll take responsibility. Nick will take responsibility for some of the details on the designs of the play. I didn't think it was an especially well called game. I didn't think it was egregious. They couldn't run the ball much. I thought though their matchups were clearly through the air when you knew those corners weren't going to be there. Now, my big question here was they played empty more than any other time this season. And that stood out to me because Lane Johnson went down on the opening drive. Now, Sirianni didn't think playing more 12 personnel would have necessarily
he did not
helped.
like that question.
Yeah. He said that playing 12 or 13 doesn't necessarily give you that extra blocker. I think I kind of hear what Nick's saying there, but when you're going empty, you obviously don't have a back in the backfield to block. So they did go empty more than any time this season.
And I think he could explain this better, but I think there's a case to be made that when you know that you're shorthanded on offense along the line, the case for empty is that it makes the defense declare where the rushers are coming from. Jalen Hurts can better understand where the pressure is coming from, and he knows he has to get the ball out quickly anyway. But you don't want to lean too heavily into anything, and certainly it wasn't working great. On offense, first 3 drives of this game, they moved the ball down and scored a touchdown on that long 19-play drive, and there were several difficult third-down conversions, but they're moving the ball on offense. Second drive, they're moving the ball on offense again, and then there's the Goddard interception, and then the third one, they scored a touchdown anyway. So they were moving the ball early in this game, and they were moving the ball in the second half too. It's just that they kept making these classic mistakes. And that goes to the terrible, bad day at the office.
Yeah, and you hear all the time, or I shouldn't say all the time, you heard them say, you turn the ball over 4 times, you're not going to win. That's true.
And yet, if they
were still in position.
If they only turned the ball over 3 times, they would have won the game.
Exactly. Yeah. The Jets were just a bad offensive team yesterday. The Eagles were a good defensive team. Now, you do give credit to the Jets defense. I mean, Robert Saleh said that they've, embarrassed these top quarterbacks that they played or have,
I feel like a little too chest puffy from
there.
The Jets after this game, but who am I?
Yeah. Now but that is a good defense. They played Mahomes tough. They played Hurts tough. So I can see that, but I still think this is one that the Eagles let get away. I mean, you have the ball with 2 minutes to go.
No doubt. 2.5
minutes to go. You're winning. You controlled the game you controlled the score of the whole game. The Eagles hadn't been trailing in the fourth quarter all year. So, yeah, that jumps out to me.
Now, I asked Sirianni about the first play of the interception drive. The Eagles have the ball with under 5 minutes left, but it's not under 4 minutes left. They're up 2 points. And on the first play of the drive, DeAndre Swift catches the ball and is tackled out of bounds for a 2-yard gain. And I thought that was a bad job by Swift to not stay in bounds. So I asked Sirianni about that, knowing that in the past, Miles Sanders has done this and he's been pulled from the game because mostly because it was a repeat offense for him. But Swift stays in and made a couple nice plays on the drive. And Sirianni took issue. He said that wasn't a pure 4-minute situation. It's a little bit different. because you need to get the first down. And I think that's fine. All that stuff is true. But also you want your players to have the game awareness that if he's not going to get extra yards there, which was not really the situation at the end of that play, stay in bounds, go down in bounds. And I think this goes to some of the conversation we had last year about, Nick Sirianni's insistence that because his core values are situational football and protecting and winning the turnover battle, that infuses itself into the way that the game goes. And I don't think that Nick Sirianni cares less about situational awareness this year than he has in years past. Yeah. I don't think he cares less about turnovers than he has in years past. I don't think he's coaching it that much differently. And yet the Eagles are much worse in both categories. The turnover thing is obvious. Yes. We can see that. That is an objective thing. But I don't know. We've seen situational issues, such as Jalen Hurts throwing an interception when he absolutely cannot throw an interception.
Well, that is true.
Right? Yes. You're better off taking a sack there than throwing an interception, such as Jalen Hurts fumbling the ball at the end of the Patriots game when you absolutely cannot fumble the ball away, such as them not getting points or dealing with the clock right at the end of halves or at the end of games. This stuff happens a lot. And so just because you have a lot of situational meetings doesn't mean that everybody's doing everything perfectly.
You're correct there. Well said, because the evidence speaks for itself, right? They were an outstanding situational team last year. And when you want to talk about those meetings and I wrote a story before the Super Bowl last year about the different things they do in those meetings to prepare for different situations that come up. But yeah, the examples you gave, whether it's not necessarily game situations, although they have had that. They had a 2-point conversion in week 2, was it, that they could have operated differently there?
And that was just on Sirianni.
Yeah. But the situational awareness of Jalen Hurts in those 2 examples that you mentioned are noteworthy, right? They could have lost week 1, and they did lose this game. And that's where your franchise quarterback needs to take better care of the ball. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about that.
And this game, this Eagles-Jets game, it's sort of this was a game that played out like the offseason conversation of regression that's coming. This is what's going to happen, right? Because we talked about it in the summer. I thought that Jets defense was going to be a top 3 defense this year because they were following that template of last year. They were one of the only top 5, top 10 defenses that was not also in the top 10 in takeaways, right? So there was takeaway regression coming for them because they were a good defense. You knew that the Eagles were going to turn the ball over more this year than they did last year. You knew they were going to get some bad breaks. You knew they were going to get more injured than they did last year, right? And so, if you had showed me the way that this game played out, just the play-by-play and the injury stuff in July, I would have been like, oh yeah, that kind of makes sense. This is exactly the kind of game in which that would happen. But to have been in it and be an active participant in it, that doesn't make it feel any better. These guys all could have made one more play and they'd be 6-0 instead of 5-1.
Well said. And this is where they keep saying after the game that this is one to learn from, this is one to build on, right? And that's where you look at it and you say, were these problems that were festering? You just gave good examples. They clearly haven't been playing exceptional football. I thought they made a good turn in the Rams game. I thought the Rams game was really strong all around. They just had to finish in the red zone. But this was a game here where you're playing against Zach Wilson. You're playing against a team that doesn't have Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed. There is little reason why you should only have 14 points. And I was crunching the numbers today. The Eagles only have 4 touchdowns on I think it's 22 drives. It's either 18 or 22. I will get the exact number in my notes from these past 2 games. They only had 14 points in that game. They didn't score in that second half when things were they had a chance to put them away. And the successive interceptions or the multiple interceptions late in the game, that just can't happen. And so whether it's on Jalen, whether it's on Driscoll, whether it's on Nick, however you want to frame it, the taking care of the ball quotient needs to be more of a premium placed on that in this building immediately.
Now, what about your thoughts on the sort of run the ball discourse with regard to the offensive play calling in this game?
Did not have an objection to the 3rd and 9. I know people wanted them to run it there. If you run it there, basically what you're saying now, it is true. The defense played outstanding, and so if you run it there, you wear down the clock, you punt it. They probably get it with 50 seconds to go, a minute to go, and they need to go 50, 60 yards to get in the field goal range. It's only a field goal game there. I like the idea of ending the game with the ball in your hands, right? So I have no objection there to not running in that situation. As far as the overall pass run differential, the Jets had a bad run defense going into the game. But if you told me that you would have Sauce Gardner and DJ Reed out, and you have A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith, I would say throw the ball. The fact that they couldn't maximize that, the fact that they couldn't take advantage of it, and Devontae Smith had some untimely drops there, but overall, like that. I don't have an issue with the pass run distribution, but if you're going to pass the ball at the frequency that they did, then you need to convert. You need to have more explosives. Okay, I thought Mike Sando of The Athletic had a good piece today about like how the Eagles' explosive play rate's gone down, and you just need to you need to have more success through the air than what they did.
Also, when they tried to run the ball, it wasn't going very well. They called 11 runs on first down in this game. Those went for 27 yards, and that includes like 4 or 5 of them that were 1 yard, or no, 6 of them were 1 yard or worse, and a couple of them were way negative. 2 of the red zone possessions start with like a huge loss on a first down handoff. That doesn't mean I understand that there's the case for like the accumulation of the runs, the body blows, breaks things down. I don't think that was the case in this game. I think the Jets were just winning those matchups up front, and their linebackers were doing a really good job. I actually would have liked to see one more pass play in this game. And for me, the play calling before the 2-minute warning, I would have liked to see a wrinkle in there on first or second down when the Jets are expecting nothing but run. That's when I would have liked to see sort of that RPO, give Jalen Hurts an option to pass the ball. If there's a safe pass that gets you 3 or 4 yards, that's fine, but it could get the first down and win you the game. I thought going just run, now the game is all on this 3rd and 9. I didn't love that.
Good point there. Yeah, I mean, a 3rd and 9 is not a high probability play. So
meanwhile, like 3 or 4 plays earlier, Jalen Hurts makes a great play on 3rd and 7 on the completion to Dallas Goedert, where he just dots it right at the top of his drop. So, like, there's reason to believe that he can do that.
Which is what Sirianni referenced after the game.
Right. But I thought it was a little bit too predictable there.
Yeah. No, I would agree. And so is the objection with the play call, or is the objection with just the situation they were in?
On which?
On that 3rd and 9.
I can't judge the play call until I've actually seen it.
Okay.
But I don't object with throwing the ball there necessarily.
Yeah.
I object with Jalen Hurts not reading it correctly, and knowing that if there's a defender in the area, then probably just take the sack. Yeah, but okay.
Good day for the Minions. The chat's happy with you, Bo. I like this fire.
What can I say? It's funny because my original thought would have been like, as the contrarian, like after a loss, I don't think it's that bad, and I don't really think that this was that bad of a loss relative to the way that they've been playing. I think, they probably didn't deserve to be 6-0. I think they've been not as good as everybody's been thinking they were through the first 5 weeks, and I think this loss was probably not as bad as the general reaction.
Well, that's the conversation I was hoping to get to after the ad read. Was the original question was like, is this one that was coming to them, or was this just
they deserve to have lost a game the way that they've played through 6 games?
But like, I thought the Washington game last year was just a bad game. Like, it wasn't that wasn't who they were. I thought that was just a bad game.
Right.
Now, they did make some changes, right? But like, they were a juggernaut and who had a bad day, and they could have wiped that team clean, if not for a few untimely plays, right? Quez Watkins' fumble, Dallas Goedert's fumble. This team here, I don't know if they're at that same level yet. So
I think on this day, they had no business losing that game because the Jets offense is just that bad. They're like, the quarterback is just that bad, and the Eagles defensive line was killing them. I think if the Eagles had played this same game against half the teams in the league with a better offense, and even if the Eagles had 2 fewer turnovers, I think they lose that game too. So I think it's a little bit in between on this particular Sunday. Anyway, speaking of particular Sundays, particular Mondays, well, obviously the big game 1 is tonight. And if you want to be in the crowd tonight with me, check out Game Time. Buying tickets to your favorite events shouldn't be stressful. Game Time is the fast and easy way to buy tickets for all the sports, music, comedy, and theater near you. With killer deals on last-minute tickets and their best price guarantee, you can stop stressing over the tickets and start getting hyped for the fun that you will have. Game Time has flash deals and last-minute tickets, easy to find and buy tickets for every kind of event in your area. Images of seat views, lowest price guarantee, event cancellation protection, job loss protection, all that good stuff. It's the fastest growing ticket app in the country for a reason. Get images of your seat before you buy so you know exactly what to expect when you arrive. Buy tickets in a matter of seconds, 2 taps and you're set. Tickets are sent directly to your phone so you never have to dig through your email. Snag the tickets without the stress with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code PHLY for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem with code PHLY for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last-minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. I guess we should talk about the defense,
Yes.
Zach.
Yep.
And without Darius Slay, without Jalen Carter, they still had a pretty impressive performance. I was particularly struck by their response to each of the difficult situations the offense put them in after those turnovers. Pretty impressive stuff, especially from the defensive line.
Yeah, I thought Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat both had terrific days. Hassan Reddick, by the way, for all the debate, or I wouldn't even say debate, but curiosity about the way he played in those first 3 weeks. Is there regression from him? Hassan Reddick has more sacks now through 6 games than he had through 6 games last year.
Wow, how about that?
When he finished with 16 sacks. So he's had 3 straight games here. I know you like to tease me about the sacks come in waves, but we're seeing that now. And then Josh Sweat is just awesome. And I hate to say I told you so, but I mean that's a flex that I could have for a long time because Josh Sweat's playing at a really high level. He's been one of the top edge rushers in the NFL this year, and you're going to continue to see those sacks come as well. I thought Milton Williams played a good game for the Eagles. I thought Jordan Davis played, and again, I haven't watched the All-22. I've only watched the TV copy, but I thought Jordan Davis played a better game than he's played since probably week 2, week 3.
I agree with that.
He was productive for them there. Like you said, Blankenship was all around the field before he got hurt. I didn't think Josh Joe played that bad as a replacement for.
But Eli Ricks was taking his job. Job starts the game, and then Ricks is playing until Ricks gets injured. He was playing on the outside for Job.
Yeah. Now, do you think that was a rotation thing, or do you think that was?
I don't know. I think it was probably a rotation thing, but that's a bit of a fall for Josh Job, having been this guy's good enough on the outside. We think that we're going to move James Bradbury into the slot to all of a sudden this guy's not good enough to even play on the outside when Darius Slay's injured all by himself. We need Eli Ricks to play as well.
Or Ricks is coming on. Could be that.
Could be.
And then the linebackers.
A lot of rotation from Desai.
Yeah. What'd you make of the linebackers?
I understand the rotation with Nakobe Dean. I don't think that Nicholas Morrow is playing at a high enough level to keep this guy who was supposed to be the guy in the middle off the field. So I think it would be a bit of a yellow flag for Nakobe Dean if next week, 1 week after his return, he's not playing the whole game with Zach Cunningham.
A yellow flag. Interesting. Usually you hear red flag.
Well, that's the point. That's what I'm saying. It's not a full on red flag.
You're not waving the red flag. You're waving the yellow flag. Yeah.
It's a bit of it's on my radar. It's a bit of a concern. Yeah. It's also, I would say, a bit of a yellow flag that, as I said to you last night on the postgame show, all of these injuries in the secondary. We have seen Mekhi Garner play. We have seen Eli Ricks play. We have seen Mario Goodrich play. We have seen Josh Joe play. We have not seen Keely Ringo play a single defensive snap.
That's true. That's fair. And he played a few defensive snaps yesterday, but
okay.
But a very insignificant number.
Yeah,
like 2 or 3.
That he is behind all of those guys in the pecking order.
Yeah, that's fair. That's a fair point.
On my radar. That's all.
Yeah, that's your 3rd round pick next year, right?
That's right.
Yep.
What else jumped out to you from the defense? Anything else?
I mean, just that it confirms what we always talk about. When your rush is playing as well as it is, then it can kind of neutralize some of the I shouldn't say problems, being undermanned in the back end. I mean, I made the point yesterday. James Bradbury was the only day one starter on the field by the end of the game. That's a little concerning there, especially when you have the Dolphins coming next week. So that's something we're going to have to watch. But I think that defensive front, when it plays that way, you're going to see it. And then, I mean, it's true to form here. I thought the third down defense was just terrific. I think 2 of 11 or thereabouts for the Jets. So that jumped out to me.
I thought it was an impressive display from the defensive line. I talked about this with Jamie on the post-game show, but it was sort of the exact example of why the team is built the way that it's built, because even when you have suffered injury after injury in the secondary, because the defensive line is that good, you can still get away with it. I think that's a little bit a case of they were fortunate to be playing who they were playing. I think that would not have been the case against most of the offenses with an actual quarterback in the NFL. But I think it's fair to say that this is a crazy thing, but their defensive line might be better this year than it was last year, and I think that it is.
Yeah, well, because with the way Jalen Carter has been playing, obviously didn't play yesterday, and the development of some of those younger guys, Milton Williams is playing better, Jordan Davis is playing better. So if you're getting and Fletcher Cox is playing better, by the way, too.
Yeah.
So,
and they're also much better against the run.
Yeah. So if you're getting almost apples for apples with Hargrave's absence going to Carter, and Carter's probably been a little better against the run.
Better, it's crazy.
Yeah, then I can see that. Hassan Reddick is playing now the way he did it last year. Josh Sweat, I think, is playing even better. Although I thought Josh Sweat played at a high level last year. The one thing I am curious while we're talking about this, and again, this is far down the depth chart, but I see Ash in the chat saying haven't heard much about Nolan Smith. Derek Barnett, I don't mean to pick on him, but he's really not giving them much. And
what a wild takeaway. After this game, you need to get off your chest that Derek Barnett is not giving the Eagles enough
my point is, at what point do you think Nolan Smith starts pushing some of that playing time?
Well, let's see. What was the exact disparity of their playing time in this game? Derek Barnett played 13 snaps, and Nolan Smith played 3. So Derek Barnett played 20% of the snaps. Yeah, I don't think it's crazy to ask if Nolan Smith could eat into those snaps a little bit. You're probably right that Barnett has not brought a ton. Again, I think it's a wild takeaway from this game to be at the top of your list. Of course, Zach's coming in I got to get this off my chest. This is the one thing that's really been grinding my gears. What is up with those 8 snaps that Derek Barnett has that could go to Nolan Smith?
We're here all week. This is what you do. You're kind of you're getting all the minutia.
The flip side is it's not like Nolan Smith has done anything with his snaps to earn more playing time. So until he earns those snaps, I don't think they're in the business of just giving them to him.
True. I mean, that's one where I don't know if Camp deceived us or if he just needs a larger sample size. I will take the latter.
I do think that we have seen enough in just 6 games to say that Sean Desai is more willing to be creative than his predecessor. We saw so many different rotations.
You need to get a good Gannon ripoff off.
I didn't even mention him by name. I'm not coming after him.
He cannot be named.
There are lots of examples from the past 2 years of them sort of sticking with the same plan, and I just think that we have seen a lot more throwing stuff against the wall and seeing what sticks with Sean Desai so far. Which, dealing with the injuries he's had. Of course, the 6th game of the season, the Eagles having their 6th group of starting 5 in the defensive backfield. Tough situation.
Great stat. I agree with you in terms of Sean Desai. He's been awesome. And he's someone who, if they keep this up, will deservedly get some head coaching buzz.
And somebody mentions this in the chat. I think it's Dean says, I thought Nakobe played better too, but maybe I'm biased towards my fellow Dean bro. I'm not sure that I was super impressed with Nakobe Dean. There was that one play where he looks sort of slow chasing down Zach Wilson.
Yeah, I got a text from someone saying that same thing.
Really? In the open field. And he does look small. And
slow
and small is no way to go through life as a linebacker in the NFL. I mean, it's 1 game back. We got a long way to go. It's only his 2nd season, but let's see him play a full game first, I guess.
I'm holding my Dean stock. I'm holding my Nakobe Dean stock.
Okay.
You're laughing because I hold stock as opposed to selling.
It would be a bold thing if you were going to say you were buying Dean stock. But you were only ever doing what the market is doing. Like,
no, that's not true.
yes. When a player is playing really well, you're like, I'm going to buy more of this stock. I'm buying DeAndre Swift stock after week 2. When a player is doing badly, you're like, all right, now is the time to sell. When Nakobe Dean is just treading water right now, you're holding.
No, I
have a stance. Go against the grain, my man.
It sounds like you're selling Dean. I'm holding it.
I just think, I think his stock
I will buy
right
your
now,
Dean shares from you at a discount.
I'm not giving you a discount.
Okay. I mean,
if you want to go out and say Nakobe Dean's going to be a good player, then buy the stock.
By the way, Cousin Grace says you can be small or slow, not both. Cousin Grace, you haven't seen me play basketball.
Well, you're not in the NBA.
Yeah.
All right.
I do have a fantasy draft tonight.
Ooh, do you?
Actually, an auction.
You love an auction?
I actually don't love an auction.
Really?
Yeah.
Why not?
I mean, I love the concept of the auction because I always end up.
Oh, because I
always to no end.
Yeah, I know.
I end up with more money left late, and I end up having to spend extra money
because
on
you've got your number, and you're not going to go.
And I don't go over the number. Happens every single time. Yeah. That's why.
Keep that in mind tonight, and be willing to go over your number on the guys you like.
Yeah, but then you end up getting like all $1 and $2 players at the end.
Well, then don't complain about it. Have it one way or the other.
I agree, but this is why. I'm
now,
still
is this
the
league? Is this the classic Bodner?
No,
Eskin league?
That draft is that's a draft.
Oh,
that's
Monday. Because it's okay.
That's next week. This is one with my brothers.
Okay, just your brothers?
No, there's other people in it as well.
Okay, all right. Well, if you wanted like some Sixers merch that you could use for your fantasy basketball draft, FOCO is a leading manufacturer of sports and entertainment merchandise with a product line that includes apparel, accessories, toys, collectibles, novelty items, and more. It's the best officially licensed gear for all sports and fandoms. It's football and tailgating season. Overalls, hoodies, hats, sunglasses, bags, everything you need for a game. And FOCO has hooked PHLY up and provided awesome pieces for our sets. FOCO always has our back for Philly sports, and they have yours too. Get the best gear around by using the link in our description. For all non-presale items, use the promo code PHLY for 10% off. What else is on your mind? Anything else to get off?
Well, how about
the
games from last week?
I'll pull it up.
Okay.
I want to finish on the game itself.
Okay, yeah. So then Penn State trip.
So you're looking up our ratings.
Yes.
Middle of the show is actually reading reviews on the show. That's how much he cares about the reviews.
Rate and review. My Penn
like
State
and
trip.
Subscribe, all that good stuff on YouTube.
Yeah, my Penn State trip was fun. Had a great time with Emily back at her alma mater, and our friends Brett and Elisa, and we had a good dinner on Friday. Unfortunately, it rained a lot on Saturday. Didn't make it through the entire game, but it was a blowout. It was 63-0. So we saw what we had to see.
You think this Penn State team has a chance to get to the playoffs, Zach? You think they've got what it takes?
I mean, big gaming on Saturday against Ohio State. If they beat Ohio State, then yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
Have a take.
Yes, I do. I do. I think that their defense is awesome. Manny Diaz is doing a good job there. I know Temple fans probably don't like to hear that, but are you pointing?
I'm pointing to
Temple's campus. That way. Yeah, and I mean the quarterback's legit. I like both their backs. So yeah, but Ohio State's gonna be real tough. So we'll see there. Got a chance to walk around Happy Valley, but had a tour of AccuWeather, or got to see AccuWeather. So shout out to Steve, a loyal listener.
Steve, man.
And learned so much about AccuWeather.
Like what?
I mean, just about all that goes into the. I don't want to get into all the details on their company.
You don't want to give away their proprietary information,
but it was.
You don't believe that they're just making stuff up.
Oh no! I mean, they're working hard in there.
Okay.
So, and I have the app on my phone now because if you remember, I used a different weather app on our previous podcast.
I don't remember.
Okay, well, that was brought up to me, and so
He's been holding that grudge. That's the thing.
But I am an AccuWeather guy now.
All right.
Yep.
Well, shout out to Steve. All right. Goose Wisely, Zach. You had Zach Wilson has at least 3 turnovers. I had Tim Boyle plays at least 1 snap. Neither one happened. You had Breece Hall has the most rushing yards in the game. I had DeAndre Swift has the most rushing yards in the game. Neither of us got that. Jalen Hurts had the most
okay.
rushing yards in this game. Wow, Zach, for the audio listeners, gave a premature double thumb point to his chest. He thought he was going to get that golden egg there. Didn't happen. Breece Hall has the longest play from scrimmage of the game. That was yours. Not the case. Breece Hall has no runs of over 10 yards. That did happen. I get that point. 1-0 me. You had the Jets have more sacks than the Eagles. Did not happen. They had 2. The Eagles had 5. 3.5 of those 5 accounted for by Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat, giving me a point because I had Hassan Reddick and Josh Sweat combined for more sacks than the Jets. 2-0 Bo. The Eagles throw a screen to Olamide Zaccheaus. That's for you. Didn't happen. A kick or punt hits a post, an upright, or a pylon. The Elliott field goal and that first Zerline field goal of the game, both very close to the upright, but did not hit him. You had A.J. Brown has 100 yards receiving. A point for you. I had A.J. Brown has fewer receiving yards than Garrett Wilson. So 2-1 me. You had there is a coordinated team celebration with at least 3 people involved. Didn't happen. I had Nakobe Dean plays every defensive snap. Didn't happen. It comes down to the golden egg at the end. You had Jake Elliott kicks more field goals than Bryce Harper has home runs against the Braves, which was 3. Didn't happen. I had the Jets have fewer yards per carry than Nick Castellanos had home runs against the Braves. That was 4. They had 4.2 yards per carry, so it didn't hit. But I win, and I go up 4-1 on the season.
Okay. So it's going to be it's just a setup for a comeback. Isn't that what they say?
That's right, yeah.
Okay. It's set up for a comeback. Setbacks, just a
I'm
setup
sure
for a comeback.
You're a wordsmith. You could figure it out.
Not working on a lot of sleep right now, so.
Yeah, I mean, it's a 4 o'clock game. You drove home. It's okay. You could have slept in a little bit later.
I could have. True.
Just as Emily wanted you to.
Just as Emily wanted me to, yep.
As for the rosters, if you want to pull those up, Bree, let's see. Jalen Hurts, Marcus Mariota, no blood there. Boston Scott, Breece Hall, not a lot of blood. You had A.J. Brown, but also Devontae Smith. You had that 21 personnel, and the Eagles used some 21 personnel in this game to...
think Nick watches?
Not huge effect. I had Garrett Wilson, who had a good game. Let's see. It's tough to even make a case for anybody in this game, given how poorly both teams played. I think it would come down to which defensive line was better. I've got Graham, Quinnen Williams, Fletcher Cox, Josh Sweat. You've got Reddick, Carter, who didn't play, John Franklin Myers, Bryce Huff. A lot of people in this game who we thought were playing in the game. I almost think that we sort of throw this one out, but I don't know what you think.
No, I think I win.
How do you win?
How do I win? Well, I will
with Darius Slay as your corner and Jalen Carter as your defensive tackle?
I think I win.
And Lane Johnson as your right tackle? You think that's a winning strategy with Marcus Mariota as your quarterback?
I think I win with Hassan Reddick's pass rush. I think I win. I think I win with DeAndre Swift scored a touchdown. AJ Brown.
What a great game for DeAndre Swift.
AJ Brown had over 100 yards. Although you had Tony Adams, he had that big interception.
I feel like I am being very magnanimous in offering up a no blood here. I think otherwise I would be taking the win.
So we'll take a draw here.
All right. I think that's fine. We can get back to the drawing board on exactly how to determine the winners, other than Bo wins. But I'm gonna leave you off the hook.
That's typically what you say. You wear me down and you say you win.
And I'm offering you to not do that this time.
Yeah, so I will take the draw.
Okay. What are you particularly interested in following up on over the course of the next few days?
Well, obviously Lane's status, and we'll find out more Wednesday when they return to practice, maybe Thursday. About, if he's even out there on a limited basis. This is a huge opponent, and we're going to get real into the Dolphins. I'm looking forward to talking to Baldy tomorrow to find out more about what makes this Dolphins offense special, because this Dolphins offense is special. So you want to see how they are in the secondary, because
I'm excited to see what their plan is going to be on defense in this game.
Yep. So those are some things. Then you want to see how Jalen Hurts responds. This is going to be a big Jalen Hurts week, and I'm curious about that. The Dolphins, we spoke a lot about Vic Fangio during the offseason, but he does have an understanding of the Eagles personnel. Joe Casper is on that staff. He knows the Eagles personnel.
Big Joe Casper pop. Nice.
Yeah, did you see that one coming?
No, I didn't. Good for you. That's one you're not getting on the other Monday Eagles shows. That's for sure.
I'll tell you what. You do 5 shows a week. You get to the safeties coach on the other team. Okay.
Big pop for Joe Casper.
Yes.
I like that.
Yeah, Joe, if you're watching. Boom. Maybe this will improve your potential coordinator
His
candidacy.
Q rating, absolutely.
Yeah.
Good point from Dean. Wow, a double dip on Dean in the chat today. Zach may be losing goose wisely now, but I'm not selling my Zach stock just yet.
Appreciate that, Dean.
Are you buying your Zach stock? This is a chance for you to buy low.
You're saying my stock's low right now?
Well, you're losing 4-1.
For Goose Wisely. Gotcha. I thought you meant in life. I'm like,
no.
Oh, goodness. You already know how I'm reading all these comments and reviews. Yeah, I would say buy Zach stock. I got some good articles I'm working on. So make sure you check that out on allphly.com. I'm
looking for that creative heater.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate Sunset Shaz, a loyal listener, viewer, who he weighed in from Friday's pod about scenes from the locker room, and couldn't get that many scenes from the locker room yesterday, but made sure the story included that, and I appreciated. He already put a comment in. If you are a diehard, you can leave comments on our All PHLY articles. You can also message me on Twitter and email Zach at allphly.com. But yeah, always I have some good stories that I'm working on that in the next week, 2 weeks, and then going to try to line up some features that I love to write in this next month.
Excited to read that. Allphly.com. That's where you can go. And Zach's Twitter and email is where you can go to really set him into a tailspin if you have any kind of conflicting advice or feedback based on something else that somebody has said. So,
because I will listen and I will take it.
Because he will listen and he will really take it to heart. No matter how much or little of an expert you are in the field. So, for Zach and all of us here at PHLY, we will talk to you tomorrow at, 1:30 tomorrow?
Yes.
1:30 tomorrow after the coordinators speak. So we will talk to you then. Thank you for listening. Thank you for watching. And as always, we love you.